One thing that's not very neat about our code are these difficult to read CSS selectors we've used, like this one here. Now we know from the last video that what this one is meant to do is to get the anchor element from the first item summary on the home page. But next time we look at this code, we might forget this and we're going to have to then waste time trying to figure it out. Now to make your code more reusable and reader friendly, Nightwatch allows you to create page objects in which you abstract various aspects of a page. So we're going to be making various page objects throughout this project. So let's make a directory for them. We're going up to the terminal and typing make dir tests e2e page hyphen objects. After that, we'll create our first page object for the home page by going touch tests e2e page objects, and this one will be home.js. We can configure Nightwatch to automatically pick up any page objects we create by adding a new property to the Nightwatch config, which will be page underscore objects underscore path. And we'll assign to this the directory that we just created. So tests e2e page objects. Let's now open the homepage object file. Like most things in Nightwatch, a page object is simply a common JS module where the different properties of the module define various aspects of the page. So let's go ahead and put module.exports, let that equal an object. Now the first important aspect of the homepage is the URL. So let's give this a URL property, and we're going to assign to it process.env view dev server URL. Going back to our test now, let's create a variable home at the top of the function, and we're going to assign to this browser page home like that. And that's how we're able to get access to the homepage object. Now, page objects have their own API like the browser object does. And one method we can use right away is home.navigate, which we'll put right here. Now, this does exactly what the browser URL method does. So we can go ahead and delete that. The next command in our test, wait for element visible, tells Nightwatch to wait for the element with the item summaries class to be present on the page. Now, rather than specifying the CSS selector here in the test, let's create an alias to it on the homepage object. So to do this, we're going to give our homepage object a property elements, and we're going to assign an object to this. Now on this object, we can create aliases for any elements on the page that we want. So let's call the first one item summaries like that. So we'll assign an object to this, and then we're going to add a property selector. And here we can specify the CSS selector, which of course is going to be item summaries. Now, back in our test file, we can use the item summaries alias in the wait for element visible method call. So we first have to make sure that this method call is performed on the page object rather than just on the browser object, because it's on the page object where this alias is defined. So I'm just going to cut that from there. I'm going to come up here and put that on the end like that. Now what we can do is replace this CSS selector with a string with the @ symbol and then the name of the alias, which is going to be item summaries. And I'm sure you'll agree that this makes it much more readable and easy to figure out what's going on. If you want to create more versatile page objects, you can also add sections to represent entities from within the page. For example, imagine that you were testing link elements on a page and you had links both in the header and in the footer. Well, you could create a section called header and another section called footer, and then you could define links within each of those. So one section of the page that we want to refer to in our test is the first item summary. So to create it as a section, let's first add a sections property to the page object and assign to it an object. And we can add properties to this object now with the names of each section that we want. So the first section, as I said, will be first item summary. And like a page object element, we give it a selector. And the selector in this case will be item summaries first child. Now, sections can also have their own sub-elements. So let's add an elements property to the first item summary section. So we'll go here and we'll go elements, and we'll assign an object to that. And what we're going to do now is give this a property link, and we're going to give that a selector. And this one will be the same as this. Oops. There we go. Only we're going to get the anchor tag from within that. Back in our test, let's go to the top and assign the first item summary section to a variable by going const. We'll create a const object and we'll put first item summary, and we'll assign to that home.section. Let's now make the get attribute and click method calls to the first item summary object. So we'll come down here and we'll go first item summary like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut those out from there. Oops. I'll put that back there like that. And now what we can do is replace these obscure CSS selectors with the alias link. And for the click, it's going to be link to. So with all those changes made, let's now run our test again. npm run test e2e. And we're going to confirm that everything is still passing. And it looks like everything is.